approximately 5 minutes after 3 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Stone, would you please call the roll?
Aaron Ranke.
Present.
Barry Krall.
Present.
Bruce Hendricks. Dan Palmer. John Getz.
Present.
Okay, so we have a quorum. I'll entertain a motion to approve the June 24th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the June 24 meeting minutes.
Seconded. A motion and a second.
Barry Krall. John Getz.
Yes.
Aaron Ranke.
Okay, so public comment. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, no comments from the public. Now we're going to hear from the Northwest Municipal Conference Multimodal Plan Presentation.
Great. Well, we're excited to be here. Let me just share my screen really quick. Okay. So can everyone see that all right on your end?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So we're really excited to be here to talk about our multimodal transportation plan, mostly because the plan was approved by our board in March of 2020. So we really didn't get a chance until this summer to get out there and showcase it to our member municipalities, and because of the pandemic, obviously. So we're excited that we're able to do that, even virtually, so we can get into it. A little bit about how the plan got started. We received a LTA grant, Local Technical Assistance, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. For the plan, our team lead was Tim Schwartz, which I think you guys are also familiar with your plan being put together. Trans Systems did a lot of the data collection, and then the Lakota group handled our public engagement. We also were guided by a steering committee that was made up of our municipal members, agency partners, so the different transit agencies, forest preserves, county departments of transportation, IDOT, really you name it. So a lot of different perspectives represented on that steering committee, and some good guidance from them. A little bit about the Northwest Municipal Conference. We're made up of 43 member communities. One of those is a township, 42 of them are municipalities. We represent over 1.2 million people, over 800,000 jobs, and over 350 square miles in our service territory. Here is just a visualization of our service territory. So you can see we're pretty geographically diverse. So a lot of different interests to incorporate into the plan when we're thinking about a regional plan like this. The plan starts out with an existing condition summary. This page, and by the way, pretty much all of this presentation uses actual pages from the plan. Kind of wanted to give you a real taste of what the plan looks and feels like. So hopefully you'll want to go back and read the whole thing. The existing conditions analysis starts out with real examples from across the region of facilities for biking and walking, accessing transit, the whole gamut really. And these are real photos from our member municipalities. So I think that's really important, that these are places that you might, traverse through every single day, as opposed to just a generic picture from, another city. So really relevant examples included in this section. The existing conditions analysis also talked about how people access transit. So that includes in our service territory, CTA, Metra, and PACE. CTA a little bit less so, only a couple of our communities have CTA service. Still important to look at. And this graphic, for example, on the bottom left of the screen shows how people get to metro stations. So for each mode, walking, biking, getting dropped off, or driving by themselves, it lists the top 5 stations for each of those modes. From there, once we have the existing conditions established, then the plan gets into possible solutions for issues that are found within the existing conditions. So Street Design Toolbox contains a bunch of different tools for different goals of the plan. So if your goal is traffic calming, here's a bunch of tools for that. And they're all delineated by cost, timeline, and the location where they're best implemented. So whether that's a major arterial or a minor street, you know, the solution will vary depending on that. And the cost symbols do actually correspond to real actual costs. $1 sign, I believe, is up to $10,000. $2 signs is from $10,000 to $100,000. 3 is from $100,000 to $1 million. And then anything $4 signs is $1 million and up. There aren't a ton of solutions included in here that are over $1 million, because these costs are per lane mile where applicable. You know, otherwise it's just, you know, per instance. But wanted to give our members a lot of different types of solutions that they could implement in their communities. So this is for traffic calming, but we've got bike facilities. There's a section on walking, crossing the street, accessing transit, pretty much you name it, it's in here. There's also, this is for accessing transit. There's also community spotlights highlighted throughout the toolbox. So this one happens to be from Arlington Heights, showing their covered bike parking, which helps people access transit at their metro station. In addition to the more specific tailored solutions for localized issues, we also included a programs and policies toolbox, which attempts to address some of the big picture overarching issues that people want to address in their communities. So this is stuff like Vision Zero, complete streets policies, and that sort of thing. It goes into each type of policy and gives a little snapshot of those. And then it also includes additional resources where people can go to really get a deeper dive into those more nuanced policies. And then we sort of get into the fun part when it comes to implementation. Our 2010 bicycle plan for the Northwest Municipal Conference included a set of priority corridors where, you know, we really wanted to focus on improving. So did this plan, but they were updated according to the existing conditions analysis that was done. So a couple of the priority corridors were dropped from the 2010 version, a couple new ones were added, and this is what we get. There's 19 priority corridors that sort of form the backbone of our bicycle portion of the multimodal plan. As you can see, they're mostly east-west. I think that's what we gathered from a lot of feedback and through our public engagement, that people wanted east-west routes. So that's sort of what they focused on here. So the couple of routes that sort of touch Bartlett, or at least get close to it, include the Fox River Bussy Woods Bikeway. That it doesn't actually go through the village, but sort of is on your northern edge along Irving Park Road, and then it connects to the Fox River Trail, which I know Bartlett has a couple of connections to as well. The priority corridors were evaluated based on a number of different criteria. You can see in this bottom right corner, it shows those criteria and where these corridors rank according to them. So it's things like connectivity to destinations, the trail network, transit, how direct the route is, and any major barriers such as expressways or train crossings, that type of thing. as well as safety along the corridor, so that it looks at crashes where there was serious injuries or death. And then this is the Barrington Road Bikeway. So this borders the village's eastern edge along Barrington Road. The route actually ends, I believe, at like the northeastern tip of the village, and then it goes all the way up to Dundee Road in the north. So that's another one that is close to the village and has some connections to your bike facilities. In addition to just developing the priority corridors, the project team also came up with cost estimates for how much it would take to complete the entire network. The costs are divided up into two categories. It's just the flat bike facility costs, so that's striping, paving, signage costs, pretty basic costs that are a little bit easier to calculate. And then the other category of costs are barrier costs. So that's the sort of complicated things that can come with projects. Expressway crossings, rail crossings, intersection improvements, all the things that sort of add those big ticket items that tend to drive up costs on projects. So the total for that actually ends up being more than the bare bones bike facilities. So bike facilities is a little over 33 million total for the entire network. And then the barrier costs are over 38 million. So you can kind of see how those project prices get driven up is from the more complicated barrier costs. Along with bike facilities, the project team also took a look at the sidewalk network in our communities. So I mentioned that Trans Systems did a lot of the data collection. One of the things that they did was go out into each of our member communities and assess their sidewalk networks. So they noted where there was sidewalk on both sides of the street, on one side of the street, and then where it was missing completely. Of those sections where it was missing completely, they created a prioritization system. And this table in the left shows what the criteria was and how much they were weighted. So things like proximity to schools, proximity to transit, whether it's within a job center or commercial area, and the type of street that the gap exists along, all went into how these gaps were prioritized. So the gaps were all assigned different tiers, and the goal here is just to sort of create a roadmap for municipal planners to look at and go, okay, you know, this is in the top tier of the sidewalk gap prioritization for the Northwest Municipal Conference based on, you know, these goals, and here's where we can go and put our money towards. So this just shows all of the different sidewalks that were actually analyzed. It doesn't delineate whether it's missing or one side or complete on this map, but our online maps do show that. You'll notice that the network was mapped and it was clustered sort of around the train stations for each town and or their downtown areas. That's because when Trans Systems went out and did this, they decided to focus on either a half-mile or a mile radius around the downtown areas or metro stops. And then they also surveyed federally eligible routes as well. So that's sort of that grid network that you see along with the clusters around metro stations. And then, you know, it's great to have a plan and some good ideas about where we want to put our money, but getting money is a whole different story, as you all probably know. So an important part of the multimodal plan is the section on funding options. These include federal funding, county funding, state funding, even some private funding sources and grants. This is a sort of high-level, quick look overview of a bunch of different funding sources with their title, who administers the funds, and then the types of projects that they fund in general. So it shows bike facilities, sidewalk projects, and access to transit and planning projects. And the different colors just show, whether or not they will fund it. And if it's a question, then you can dive deeper into the detailed funding descriptions to determine whether your project would be eligible for those funds. So I think that's a pretty useful part of the plan. And that's the goal, really, is for us to help facilitate these projects and help our communities apply for these grants, whether it's writing letters of support or helping with the application itself, and shepherding the project through the federal process once those funds are hopefully secured. So we're excited to roll it out. We hope that it'll sort of jive well with local plans like the plan that's currently being undertaken with Streamwood. Super exciting. I think you'll see a lot of similarities between our plan and what your final product ends up being, because Sam Schwartz is leading your project as well. So hopefully it jives really, really well. And with that, before I take questions, I am gonna see if I can pull up our website, and that'll just take 1 second. Okay, can everyone see that now?
Yes.
Great. So here's sort of, those priority corridor snapshots showed the corridors sort of at a moment in time, when the plan was created. But as projects get implemented, we do want to keep the corridors updated. So here is that Fox River Bussy Woods Bikeway. The red sections means that it's non-existing. Blue means that it's in the works or being planned. And then green indicates that it's a complete segment of the corridor. So these maps include options for people to make comments. If there's a suggestion for a certain alignment or treatment, or even if you notice a section that's red but it should be green. We take comments from the public and our members just to keep these as updated as possible. And any comments that we receive relative to opinions about a certain project or segment, we do forward on to our members. So it's a good way to get feedback all in one place. So to make a comment, you would just go to this pencil button here. This will pop up and you'll select new feature, and then you can click anywhere on the map to type in a comment and say, there should be a bike path here or what have you. You can also add photos if you encounter a problem while you're out riding or walking. And so we're excited. As we've been out more this summer, we've gotten a lot of new comments from this tool. I'll scroll out so maybe you can see them. So all those red dots are comments. So as more and more people know about the plan, they're getting into it, and we're getting a lot of good information. And the same is true with the sidewalk inventory tool. Try to keep that updated as well. And yeah, so we're really excited. Hope that that your planning process goes well. And if you have any questions, I can go ahead and take those now.
Are there any questions from the committee?
So so that overall plan that you were displaying, is the Bartlett Streamwood one going to be incorporated into that?
They're separate plans.
Separate, okay.
Separate plans. So theirs has already been adopted. And now theirs is a little bit more broad, and then we kind of get to focus ours and make really specific recommendations.
Gotcha, okay. No, that website is great. I'm looking forward to reading the whole report in more detail.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear.
Is that something, are we going to get a copy of the report?
I can follow up with Christy to get you a PDF of it, and I'll send her our URL.
That would be great.
Perfect.
Much appreciated. All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, old business and new business. DuPage Forest Preserve District update.
Hello, everyone. It's Jessica Ortega with the Forest Preserve District. A bit of an update for you today about the last segment of the North Central DuPage Regional Trail that is going to roughly parallel Munger Road and connect up to the Woodland Hills neighborhood on the north and the Illinois Prairie Path on the south. Where our target letting date is now November 5th, and so we expect construction will begin next spring, and final restoration and punch list completion in the spring of 2023. Does anybody have any questions I can answer?
So that got pushed back. I thought it was November 5th. I thought that was sooner.
It was, and we were still working through a few agreements.
Gotcha.
With ComEd, et cetera. But now everything's in place, and I can't foresee anything that would keep us from hitting that November 5th letting.
That was my next question. Thank you.
So about a year for construction?
That's right. Well, I mean, usable before then, but there's always a few lingering things like making sure the vegetation is filled in and stuff like that.
Great.
Is there going to be a groundbreaking with that one? I guess in spring.
I don't know. Haven't heard anything about anything like that being planned, but I can for sure let Christy or others know if one gets planned, and she can pass that along.
Sure, we'd love to, yeah.
That's a good question. All right, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Park District update.
Kelly O'Brien with the Park District. We don't really have any updates at this time to share unless the committee has anything for us to ask on. No updates here?
No.
Thank you. Grant update. I know we've got some news.
Yeah, so I've attached a memo, and since the memo, there are a few updates, so if you have any questions, I guess, specifically on anything that was in the memo, feel free to ask those first.
So the bike shelters are going in, huh?
We're trying.
Yeah.
So they didn't come with any instruction. And so we're trying to figure out exactly how they get put together, because it became more, at first we were hoping, okay, maybe piece A goes into piece B, but of course it's not that simple. So now we're seeing if there's any bike rack building contractors. We do have one who's going to take a look and see if they've had any experience with them, if they can do it, and hopefully we can get it up pretty quick.
So there's two items. There's the shelter going up, and then there's 6 racks there and 11 elsewhere.
11
All
total.
that's all in process. All the materials are on site now, or?
All but 2 racks.
All but 2, okay.
2 bike racks.
Fantastic.
But we would expect those by November before it gets full to be completed.
I would hope so. They're looking for the racks now. Honestly, they don't really know where they disappeared to. I don't know how 2 bike racks go missing, but the delivery doesn't know where the 2 went. So they're tracking them down as we speak.
So then the bike shelter, the instructions, I mean, to Barry's point, is that going to be done before winter?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. And now that, the train traffic is starting to increase again, that's perfect. And I know we added some bike racks a couple years ago to the pool. Is that sufficient now, or is that covered, or would any of these racks be maybe sent over there? Yeah.
They're not permanent.
Oh, okay. They're not permanent.
By the outdoor pool?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not permanent.
Okay,
We have one permanent, like, at the community,
yeah,
but at the pool.
okay.
I always feel like the grant update always kind of bleeds into the bicycle project update for whatever reason. But it's good, and I think we recognize how the two items are linked.
So if there's no more questions on the grants, I can lead into the projects there, if anyone has any questions on those that were provided.
I see the striking has been delayed on Mayflower, but at the meeting on the 21st, we'll hopefully vote it on and approved and be done also by November.
It was approved, which, yeah, that one was kind of a surprise, but not surprised that a lot of places have been having material issues. We've gotten a lot of contracts canceled that normally don't have any issues. So we did find another contractor who said they're good on material and they're planning in the next couple weeks now that that's approved to come in here and do that.
What I would expect to be the big project on Newport will be done also by November.
Yeah, that's getting started by the end of next week. Unless there's some crazy weather, but other than that, not gonna.
It's great news. Council of Government update.
Yeah, so this week I was able to attend the Northwest Municipal Conference Bike and Ped Committee, as well as the KCOM Bike and Ped Committee just before this meeting here. Earlier this week at NWMC, there was a discussion about bike repair stations and other municipalities kind of discussed their experiences with those, kind of the pros and cons of that expenditure. And we also discussed the Multimodal Plan Commons tool that Kendra just showed us here. And then at the meeting that I was just in just before here, we discussed a Fox Valley bike share, possibly re-upping that in Kendall County. And they discussed that ridership was actually up in 2021 for that one. And the Kane County Forest Preserve is also looking at updating their speed limit and looking at enforcement of e-bikes. They are looking at possibly upping theirs to 20 miles per hour. So that is an update for those. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
I guess just to back up, so one of the projects was the southeast corner of 25 and West Bartlett. There's that new gas station going in there, and they're extending the path. Is that King County, or what is it? Is that Bartlett jurisdiction, or what?
So there was originally, several years ago, IDOT was supposed to do intersection improvements at that, when they were redoing some things on Route 25. Unfortunately, they took the intersection improvements out of the project. So the Lennar development, their path ends at the right-of-way line. True North's ends at the right-of-way line. So there is a gap. The developer did say that they would contribute towards the intersection improvements when IDOT is ready to move forward. So it is in place. Unfortunately, IDOT took that out of their funding and did not notify the village. And so we have a gap right there.
Yeah, that's. So the True North property, the path, is the path in yet? I didn't see it. I was there.
It is in, it's not open to the public due to the construction. They still have to put in the ADA ramps where there's a cross access
Sure, yeah.
between the lots. But the path itself is in, it's just not.
Okay, because on the west side there, I know there's a path from that subdivision that ends about 20 feet short as well.
Yes.
Maybe 30 feet, whatever.
It was the same thing. Typically, we want the developer to go all the way. IDOT said, don't have them do it. We're going to do the improvements. And then it's the joy of working with the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, IDOT.
Yeah.
That seems like it's opening up a potentially dangerous situation where people are gonna use it without a crosswalk, because the path goes, and it cuts short, you know, maybe not through the winter months, but at least in spring, people are gonna start using that, and without a crosswalk there, without a signal.
Right,
Dangerous now.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, but especially when there's a path that goes and stops right there, people are gonna use it.
I mean, we've done before, we've put signs up that say path ends to kind of tell people not to go forward. You obviously cannot have a crossing guard there to prevent it. So I think that's something that we're gonna have to look at.
Yep.
But, you know, when things like that happen, the developer's like, well, I just won't put it in because there's not a crossing. We don't want to get in a situation where we're not getting the opportunity for the builder to put it in at their expense.
Okay.
So we can look at that, if we can get them to put up a path ends, no crossing ahead or something like that to
Be
kind of
safe,
give a
yeah.
warning,
Yep, okay.
Courtesy IDOT, put that on the sign.
right?
Thanks to IDOT,
Yeah.
put the engineer's phone number on there. Low-speed electric bicycles, I think this was something, did you bring this up, or was this Dan?
I think Dan brought it up, but I did a little research.
Okay.
There's, I looked at really two avenues, Illinois, and of course out west, San Francisco, who is 20 years ago decided that bikes were important. So I just started doing some easy research, and we can send it out to all the members. We can take a peek, and I see that you have the Illinois statute, somebody had pulled up in here. But yeah, that's something to look at, and now that we have our sign machine, hopefully, we can produce our own concepts based off of what other people are doing and not trying to reinvent a literal wheel.
I didn't get the sense from Dan that he wanted to prohibit it. I got the sense that he would want to permit it.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
we wanted to make sure, and I think oftentimes when things like this happen, police departments, who are the ones that enforce it, don't necessarily know.
Right.
When there's a change to the vehicle code, I mean, it's a small section, you don't encounter electric bikes, but it's something that we can let the police department know, you know, according to our municipal code and the Illinois vehicle code, they are permitted on bike paths. And it's more of an education for the police officers as well.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's any strong feeling that this is something that the village should look at prohibiting, I think it makes sense to leave it as it is.
Yeah, and I think we should be, you know, accommodating to e-bikes, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I was reading through what you had sent, Barry, and there were 3 classes of e-bikes, and I didn't quite, was it based on speed or kilowatts or something? But, you know, I assume right now, given, you know, the relative newness of e-bikes, that they're all pretty much at a fixed speed or at a maxed out speed. But if they ever start getting beyond it, that's when I think we need to be concerned. Whenever if they start becoming fast as motorcycles, you know, so to speak. We don't want them blazing down bike paths, but I think given the current environment of e-bikes, yeah, it's great.
Well, and I would wonder what the police would think too. What would be their input?
Sure.
Is that a tool that they want in their toolbox or not? I mean, I agree we should encourage bicycles, but at some point they may want us to change that. I don't know.
Right, I had asked Officer Eric Roger, who's our traffic enforcement officer, and so he said, he read everything over and he agreed that we wouldn't prohibit them, as things stand now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was something that he wasn't aware of this change. You can't keep track of all the changes that the lawmakers
Yeah.
throw into the statutes, so he was glad that we brought it to his attention, actually.
Good, very good.
Great, well, thank you. All right, well, I can't believe our next meeting is January the 6th of next year already.
Yeah.
So maybe happy holidays early.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that we'll have an in-person meeting on the 6th, fingers crossed. If not, we Zoomed it before, we'll Zoom it again. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just I guess a really quick question before we do that, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Just a couple of questions, really. The subdivision on West Bartlett at 59, is that, you know, they had a great plan, a great bike infrastructure they were going to build. Is that moving forward? I haven't
It is.
followed it. Okay.
So the original home builder pulled out. We have been
One that came
notified.
up with that plan, that beautiful plan with the bike paths?
The original, but the developer was the one that submitted the plan. And then there was a home builder that was going to purchase it.
Gotcha.
That home builder has withdrawn,
Okay.
but they are still moving forward. They said that they believe they have 2 home builders that are going to be doing it.
Okay.
They are hoping to, I told them they had to submit, they gave us very specific deadlines on a time frame they want. I told them I need to have plans submitted to me by October 4th.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that that will be moving forward.
Okay. Okay. That's great. And then my second question was, on June 25th, the day after our last committee meeting, many of us participated in that Bartlett Streamwood, you know, joint meeting. Any updates from that, or what's going on as far as?
I am glad you said that, because I completely forgot to mention this. Yesterday, we got an email from CMAP. This was going to be my big announcement today. So great transition. They have updated on our website a existing conditions report, as well as an existing condition story map, which is a little bit more of a infographic and takes you through a lot of what the existing conditions report contains. So they just gave this to us yesterday. We're going to start blasting it out on all our social media so people can see what the findings were, and now we're going to start move forward with creating our vision for the village.
Okay. Well, as you need more public input,
Yes.
let the committee know. We're happy to help.
So it's exciting. It's nice to see that Sam's worked what the final project was,
Yeah.
and to see how we can really take that and bring it very specific to what Bartlett needs.
Yeah, I'd love to, I can't wait to read this one as well. All right, I'm good, thank you.
All right.
And the next public open house, I believe, is in November for that.
I believe so. That you will all be sent.
Yeah, so there'll be a blast out for that too.
Okay, great, thank you.
Every time they've had an event, I've had just a terrible schedule conflict. You know, just the kind of thing, sometimes I can maneuver around it, but the last couple times, I just haven't been able to do it, so I apologize for that. So then I'll move to approve, or I'll move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in January.